أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسل وأغلالا وسعيرا إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Respected elders and brothers, our beloved mothers and sisters, and all viewers at home, we hope inshallah ta'ala you guys had a beautiful, joyous Eid with your family and friends. Eid is supposed to be a means of reconnecting with your old family members that you haven't connected with for a long time. So we hope that Eid brought that happiness and joy and filled in that void that you might have been feeling for some time, especially because we weren't able to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. So hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, you guys had a wonderful Eid and you did your qurbani and you were able to partake and eat from that meat as well. Alhamdulillah, before this surah, we were doing this Surah Al-Hajj because we were in the season of Hajj. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we will start the brief, concise translation and a little bit of discussion around Surah Al-Insān, or as some refer to it as Surah Al-Dahr. Insan means a human being, right? Which comes from this word, Insan, and Dahr, which is right here, which means time, which comes from this word. So different scholars have difference of opinion as to the name of the surah. This is not the only surah that has multiple names. Even Surah Al-Fatiha has multiple names as well. Al-Kitab or Al-Shifa, many other names Surah Al-Fatiha has. Other surah, like Surah Mu'min. Mu'min also is referred to as Surah Ghafir. Okay? Or Hamim Sajda or Fussilat. So different surahs have different names, which is not a problem. So sometimes you may see in the Quran it says Surah Al-Insān, and you say, well, what's Surah Al-Insān? I've heard my whole life, Ad-Dahr. So that's not a problem. All right, and so this surah is a Madani surah with 31 verses. Madani surah means it was revealed after the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina. And the first question Allah Azza wa Jal puts in front of us in this surah is about our creation, how we were created and how we came from nothing. Right? We have in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal established our origin, where we came from the beginning, and then how that system continued from that time. So the beginning was with our father, Adam alayhi salam, and then after that, the reproductive system Allah Azza wa Jal has created has been the reason why we exist until today. Now, recently there have been some commotion and some discussion around the topic of evolution, and some renowned institutions have published papers that somehow waters down the belief we have that Allah Azza wa Jal created us from Adam alayhi salam. And so we should not, no matter who says what, ever have our faith shaken because of what modern society tells us about our creation. No matter what, we did not come from monkeys. Right? There may be some truth to the theory of evolution, but you can't say it's entirely true and say that we might have come from monkeys. There are several objections to that theory. It's a theory, right? It can never be proven as a fact. And in science, theories change all the time, right? Pluto was a planet, and then not a planet, and then a planet again. So these things happen in science. So no matter what happens, we're not going to change our belief about the fact that we came from Adam alayhi salam. Well, if people say, or whoever says that, oh, evolution happens when human beings and other creatures adapt to their natural habitats and their environments. Well, you might say we still have in our physical body limbs and parts of bodies that we may necessarily doesn't play a great role, like the pinky in our feet or the or other parts of our body that doesn't really matter. So how come those things are still with us and those things are still here and they are not going away? So many other objections are there. So never ever can we believe that we came from monkeys. Okay, so that's the initial creation, how Allah created. And then the system that Allah has made for us to continue to exist is the system of reproduction. And then before we became a human being, and this grown Insān, human being, who has a lot of influence in life and his status and etc. Before all of that, what was human being? What was an Insān? What was he before that? You know, he has grown up, he has gotten many degrees, and he's very established. He has started many startups and established companies, and he's having and bringing in millions and millions of dollars of revenues and incomes. You know, he might get full of himself and think he has become someone really important. But Allah Azza wa Jalla in this surah, in the first verse, he just gives a reminder that, hey, هل أتى على الإنسان, has there not come upon man, right, حين من الدهر, a period of time, لم يكن شيئا مذكورا, that he was not a thing ever mentioned. He was never even mentioned. He did not exist. No one would have knew you existed before your parents came together. You were no one. And then Allah brought you together and He formed you, fashioned you. He made you go through different stages in your mother's womb, and then you were delivered, and then you became a teen, an adolescent, an adult, and finally in your prime. You are nothing yet at once. And then once we die and we take our last breath, at that time we also become nothing. People don't even call us by our names when we pass away. As soon as we take the last breath, people won't say, oh, look, that's Junayed, or look, that's Abdullah, or that's so-and-so. No, that's it. What do they call us? Dead body, deceased, lash, lashay. Lash comes from the Arabic word lashay. Lashay means nothing. He's no one anymore. This is a reminder from Allah Azza wa Jalla that don't get too full of yourself. You aren't as big as you think. Life can come to an end at any given moment, right? It's very interesting. Right? We think somehow, because we've been here for so long and nothing has happened to us in the past, we have been existing, and the people who pass away, we see them to be rare cases. That the people who pass away, they are the rare cases, because every day I don't hear somebody dying, right? Every day I don't hear somebody passing away. Once in a while I hear somebody pass away. So we get this idea that those who die, right, they're rare cases. But as for everyone else who's here, we're gonna be here, and who knows when we're gonna die. So because we don't know when we're gonna die, we tend to forget it, right? And that forgetfulness leads to us sometimes thinking that we're here, right, for an undefined amount of time. That could be forever. Sometimes we even speculate and explore that involuntarily, that I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. And that's why we invest so much in this world. Everything we do is so that we can have a permanent stay in this place. I can buy a nice house, I can buy a good car, etc., etc., etc. And I want to secure the bag for myself, for my family, for my kids. I want to save for the college, etc. All of that is because we're thinking somehow we're going to be here for an undefined amount of times, which might somehow maybe one day lead to forever. But that's not the case. The opposite is actually true. The people who are still here, one can say that the people who are still here in this world, they are the exceptions, right? It's not the people that are passing away that are the exceptions, but the people who are stayed in this world are the exception. meaning that from all of the people that have ever existed and lived in this world, all of them throughout all different ages and time have all passed away. There's only a selected few who are on the surface of this earth. Everyone else has gone under in the underworld to the next life. So the people that are here, in my opinion, and it should be everyone's opinion, is that we are the exception. We're only here for some given amount of time. After that, we're going to leave just like everyone else. Allah says, إِنَّكَ مَيِّتُ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. He tells the Prophet ﷺ that, Ya Muhammad, إِنَّكَ مَيِّت. Oh, Prophet ﷺ, you are going to pass away. You're going to be a dead body. وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. And definitely they also will be mayyitun, and they will also pass away. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every single soul must taste death. There is no soul, whether human being or non-human being, everyone will taste death. And recently, in the past week or so, there have been several incidents of young people who have passed away. Right? Ajib, subhanAllah, right? We think that, we all have hopes for our future, how we're going to live, etc., etc. But you guys have seen the news, and you guys have heard of young people who are passing away, And very ironically, one of the young people, brothers who passed away, in his social media, he had written the verse of the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, that every soul must taste death. Right? All right, so Allah Azza wa Jalla reminds us real quick that has there not come upon a period of time upon man that he was nothing to be even mentioned, and he thinks now he's here forever, he's gonna be here for good. Nuh alayhi salam lived for over 1900 years. He still passed away. What do we live? Barely 100 years, right? All right. And then Allah says he was nothing, and then إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Allah says, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. We have created mankind from what? Not from gold, not from silver, not from some precious metal or liquid, something that's very precious and people are going after, like rare liquid, like the venom of snakes. People harvest, scientists and doctors, they harvest the venom of snakes because they come in handy for some sort of medicine. So we weren't created from something very precious, or something that is, that we can openly talk about in our open gatherings, because it's something not so dignified, or not so, it's kind of embarrassing. So that's the point, I would say. Allah trying to remind us of our humble beginnings, that you don't even want to talk about in open public discussions about where you came from. Where'd you come from? Nutfatin amshaj, a mixture of sperm drop. A mixture of sperm drop. Yani from the reproductive cells of your father and from the reproductive eggs of your mother. They came together, and then فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. And then from those two non-living things by themselves, Allah said, they went through mitosis, they multiplied, and in a few weeks, they went through a next stage, and then a next stage, and a next stage, and then all of a sudden, وَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We made that insan into Sami', and he's able to hear. We gave him these faculties of hearing. How can someone or something, or where does this hearing come from? Who can sit here and you bring all the intelligence and all the scientists and all the doctors of the world and tell them to make some ear or make this faculty of hearing? No one can do that. Or basiran, to be able to see, right? You can bring all of the cameras of the entire world together and they will not be equal to the eye that Allah Azza wa Jal has given us. And not only did He give us the faculty of seeing, but there are people that are colorblind, that cannot differentiate between colors, and they can't see all the colors at least. And then, so we aren't only able to see, but we're able to see the different beautiful colors that Allah Azza wa Jal has created. The ni'mah of seeing is so great and tremendous that if someone was to lose it, then they would see the value of that. You know, in Kenya, they have these non-profit organizations where for $100 you can do surgery for people who don't have an eye. Just $100. And once they go through the surgery and you see their raw emotion come out and the joy that brings to them just to be able to see. And you, we, us, we all sit here with our eyes, using our eyes in whatever we want, yet we don't realize that if Allah wanted, He could have taken it away, and one day we didn't have this faculty of seeing. So Allah says, you are nothing, and then we created from nutfatin amshaj and made you into this being that can hear and that can see. Why? What's the reason? What's the purpose? Why did Allah Azza wa Jal create this? نَبْتَلِيهِ, so that we may test him, so that we may put him through trials and tribulations, and so that he can earn his place in Jannah. If there's no imtihan, if there's no test, then there's no reward. Right? So creations like an'am and animals don't go through testings and trials. That's why they won't have any reward to expect in the hereafter. Similarly, angels are not tested, and that's why they won't have any reward in the hereafter. But we as insan, mankind and jinn, we are created to be tested so that we can secure a place for us in Jannah. And Allah says, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Allah says, verily, we guided him to the way. Then we facilitated everything he needed in order to function in life and society and become his own independent person. الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى. The one who gave everything its form, its creation, the way it looks, and then ثُمَّ هَدَى. And then Allah gave direction to that creation as to how to live or what he needs to do in order to survive. Right? One time I saw these couple of kittens born to a mother cat, female cat. And I was in my dormitories, and the cat came right in front of the dorms. And she sat there with all of her babies, kittens. Right? Why did she come and sit there as an animal? You know, she could have just been outside like she always was. But she knows that she can barely find food for herself outside, and now she has to take care of all these other kittens. She figured that if I go near the door of a human being, he's gonna see, he's gonna feel some empathy, and he's gonna give some food and drinks for me and my kittens. Right? That's called Allah gave guidance to everything. He showed them the way. Similarly, those same kittens, when they were born, no one told them where they should go and look for food and drink and what they need to drink to survive. They can't even see. When they're born, their eyes are shut, closed. But somehow they know that my living and my sustenance and my milk is in the breast of my mother, whatever this thing is. Even though they're blind, they somehow gravitate towards the breast of the mother, and they just go there and they drink milk from that. So similarly, for all things, Allah Azza wa Jal has guided them and giving them the guidance that they needed. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. We have guided him to two ways. You can take two paths in front of you. إِمَّا شَاكِرًا. Either you can be grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal and all of the blessings that he has given you, وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا, including iman, or you can be a kafura, ungrateful, ingrate person who not only is ungrateful about his physical features and all of these faculties Allah has given to him, but he's also ungrateful to Allah Azza wa Jal by associating others with him when he worshipped Allah Azza wa Jal. And so for those people, Allah says, إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Allah says, we have prepared for these kafur and ungrateful disbelievers, we We have prepared for them salasil, chains. Right? Allah doesn't even say like we have prepared punishment for them, but He goes very specific. And He says chains. We have prepared chains for them, salasil, wa aghlalan, and shackles. Right? Very specific as to how their punishment is going to be. Wasa'ira, and a blazing fire on top of all of that, the cherry on top. Right? For those people who, before they die, they aren't able to be of those people who are grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? Every single day when a person wakes up, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, كل الناس يغدو فبائع نفسه فموبقها أو معتقها. That every day mankind wakes up in the morning as a merchant, someone who has a business, who's going to sell things. He ends up either selling his soul, فبائع نفسه, he becomes a merchant of his soul. His soul, he offers it. And so after that, he can either فَمُوبِقُهَا, he will either imprison his soul, أو مُعْتِقُهَا, or he will set it free. He has that choice. Allah has given him all the faculties that he needs to choose the right path. But it's a choice. Remember, it's a choice. So he either puts his soul in a prison, confines himself into shirk and kufr once again, or he releases that soul by believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because when you have kufr or when you have shirk, what does a person do when he dies like that? He is going to be confined to the walls of Jahannam. Okay? To the walls of Jahannam. But if he dies with Iman, then he is free. إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ سَلَاسِلَ وَأَغْلَالًا وَسَعِيرًا. And then on the opposite side, those people who are grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal, what has He prepared for them? إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ, the opposite of kafirin, and the abrar, the pious people, the righteous. إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ. What will they do? The other guys, they had shackles and chains. Right? These guys, what do they have? يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا. They will drink from a cup whose mixture, كأس, from a cup, كان مزاجها, is mixture is of kafur. Right? And the properties of kafur, according to the Mufassirun, is well known as something that's cooling, that's not hot. The people of Jahannam, when they want to drink something, they will be given pus, hot, boiling water. But as for these people, the abrar, they won't be given hot stuff, right? They will be given a cooling drink known as kafur, having a nice fragrance, smelling good. And in addition to this, its taste will be delicious in paradise. So it could be a type of wine, but it won't have the properties of this world, right? If Allah Azza wa Jal mentions something, a name of something in this world, and it will be in Jannah, the only common thing you can say is the name. But as for the properties, that we can't even imagine, because the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Azza wa Jalla has prepared for us in Jannah things مَا لَا عَيْنٌ رَأَتْ, no eyes have seen those things, وَلَا أُذُنٌ سَمِعَتْ, neither have any person's ears have ever heard about things in وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ بَشَرٍ, and it has never even crossed the imagination of the mind of a person. So it's going to be a cooling water. Mixture is going to come from kafur, cocktail mixed with all different beautiful, delicious drinks. And Allah Azza wa Jalla make us all from those people who will be the abrar. What is this kafur? Allah goes on to explain, and He says, عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا عِبَادُ اللَّهِ يُفَجِّرُونَهَا تَفْجِيرًا. Ayn is going to be a spring of which the righteous servants, عِبَادُ the righteous servants of Allah, يَشْرَبُ بِهَا, they will drink from it. And not only will they drink from it, يُفَجِّرُونَهَا تَفْجِيرًا, they will make it gush forth in force. They will make it gush forth. Now, what does that mean? They're going to just hit the floor and it's going to start gushing forth? No. The Mufassirun have said that this means that they will have control of it. however and wherever they wish. They will have access to it from their castles, from their homes, their sitting rooms, and their residences. So they can build a canal, they can burst out a canal or a pipe system from the main source into their lobbies, into their homes, right? This is a special drink of kafur that they will be able to enjoy this no matter where they go. They don't have to go to that actual place every time. They can bring it to themselves. Just like you'll see in the following verses, more features and benefits of the people of Jannah. Now, what makes these people special, right? What makes these people special? What are some of the special qualities of the Abrar? Allah says, Yufuna bin nadhr. Yufuna. They are those people who fulfill their vows. Fulfill their vows. And if they take a vow, they fulfill it. They respect and honor their words. Right? As a person, you gotta honor your word. Otherwise, you become like a joke to the people that are around you. You must respect what you say, especially another, an oath, a promise you make to Allah Azza wa Jal, especially if you make it to Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to honor that. You don't have to go and execute your nadhr if it's a sin or something like that. Otherwise, you have to fulfill it. If not, you're going to kafar. وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. So one of the qualities of these people is that they fulfill their words and promises. And what else do they do? They have khawf and khashya, and they have the fear of what? يَوْمًا, such a day, كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا, whose evil will be widespread. Meaning the day of judgment. Right? The evils of the day of judgment can never ever be compared to the problems and the calamities we face in this world, right? Because if a person, his whole life, he was going through troubles and problems and poverty and etc., 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 his whole life, the child was sick and just problems after problems. But if he was to be dipped in Jannah for a moment and then he was taken out, Allah Azza wa Jal will ask him, have you hal wajadta bu'san abada? Did you ever go through any difficulty in your life? He will say, no, Ya Allah, ma wajadtu bu'san qat. I have never ever felt any problems or difficulties or fitna or shar or evil in my life. Only a second of being dipped in Jannah. And then on the other side, a person will be dipped in Jahannam for a millisecond. And that same person, he lived a lavish life in this world. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He inherited billions of dollars. He never even knew what pain or difficulty was. He will be dipped in Jahannam and will be taken out. And he will be asked, Hal wajadta na'iman abada? Did you ever find any pleasure in life? Any comfort in life? Any good in life? He will say, no, ma wajadtu na'iman qat. I've never ever found any bliss, any happiness in life because of that millisecond. So that day, the evil of that day cannot be compared to the evils of this world. You know, our cars might get towed and we're like, oh my goodness, subhanallah. You go crazy. You gotta pay so much fine. You gotta worry about this and that and this and that. Imagine day of judgment, constantly, non-stop shar and evil and scary events of that day. These people, they feared that day, and they feared standing up in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Nazi'at, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. And as for that person who was afraid and who was scared of standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. And so these same people are those people who were scared of the Day of Judgment. Allah Azza wa Jal make us from those people who fulfill their vows and they are scared of that day where the evil will be widespread. And what else? What are the other qualities of these people? Let's do one more quality of these people and then we'll stop. ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. And what another quality of these people is that they give food in spite of love for it to the needy, the orphan, and the captive. They feed people food. The Prophet ﷺ said one of the ways to Jannah is أطعموا الطعام. Feed people food. Right? You want to convince someone to do something? Feed him food. Take him to Dunkin' Donuts. Take him to a halal place to eat. They say the route or the path to a man's heart is through his stomach. Feed him. Right? When people go in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal and they stay in the masajid in different places, one of the methods they use to give da'wah is ikram. When they have dinner, after salah, they will say, brother, come and eat with us. And you will see a lot of times they get interested and they want to hear what you have to say. So, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. They feed people food. حُبِّهِ because of its love. The حُبِّهِ can go back to the food, meaning even though they had love for the food, they wanted, they needed, they gave to other people. Or it can mean hubbillah, because of the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, they gave food to other people. So feeding people is a great reward in feeding people. Not only in Ramadan, but outside of Ramadan as well. And who did they feed that to? Miskeen and needy people, right? If you're ever going to give food for charity, give it to needy people. But even if you give food to people who are not needy, I mean like your guests that they come to your house, that's fine as well, and that's very rewarding as well. And who else they give to? Yatim and orphan people, people who don't have any financial muscle to support them, and they give to asira, captives, war criminals, war captives, right? And we can see in recent history and in modern history how war captives are dealt with, right? When World War II occurred, when many of the war prisoners and criminals were taken, they weren't given any chance to live. They were lined up and all done in 1 second, everyone done. That's how people deal with captives. But Islam and the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us that we are kind to even our captives. After the Battle of Badr, there were some who accepted Islam because of how well they were treated under the custody of the Muslims. So even your asir, the captives, you feed them, you be nice to them. And what is the reason? إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Why they do it? The ulterior motives, so they can take pictures and put it in front of the public, or they have other ulterior motives, so they can gain the favor of people and the support of people. No, they do it لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And when it's for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, it doesn't have to be in front of the people. You can make it quick, pay online, and the money will go to Beirut, where thousands of people are homeless now, or it can go to Yemen, where the worst humanitarian crisis is going on, and no one will see that. لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. They say what? We do not want from you jazaa, any reward. We don't need anything from you. ويا قوم لا أسألكم عليه أجرا. Right? ويا قوم لا أسألكم عليه مالا. All of the Anbiya, they said what? I don't want any ajr from you for the things that I'm doing. Similarly, they say we don't want any reward, no jazaa, we don't need nothing. ولا شكورا. And okay, khalas, you don't need any money from us, but how about shukura? What if you give something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal? And the guy, he takes your food, he doesn't even say thank you to you. He said, all right, man, How's your job? Get out of here. How do you feel? You feel crushed. I just gave you something for my money and wealth. I earned it. But these people say, you don't gotta give me no jaza, not even shakur, nothing. You don't even have to say thank you to me. This is all for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So these are some of the qualities of the abrar, of the people of Jannah. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue with the qualities of the people who are labeled as al-abrar in the Quran by Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah Azza wa Jalla give us all the tawfiq to act upon the verses and make the Quran a guidance for our lives. And Allah Azza wa Jal give us all the tawfiq and write all the time that we have spent in learning the Quran in our mizan of hasanat. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه